Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason on a map that I don't know if we've covered yet, or if we have at the very least we haven't covered it often. It goes by the name of Tartar Steppes. The name for that, of course, is because of these massive tar pits that litter the battlefield all over the place. Going to make it very difficult for vehicles to traverse through, gumming up their tank treads and definitely slowing down bots as well. Going to be interesting to see how the commanders choose to navigate this twisting forested world. Now spawning right up here on the front line as our red team leader. Well, there's only front line here, so I guess that explains why they're on the front line. But anyways, the Cortex commander, none other than 7511. Spawning here at 35 O skill, or 35 OS, 35 open skill. Gonna be representing the red team, followed very shortly by our yellow commander here down on the more to the south here as an Armada commander, Gof. All the way on the other side of the map as the blue team leader, we have none other than Nazah. Nazah as well, followed up by Towns. Now this is interesting because we've got the number 1 on the red team going up essentially against the number 2 on the blue, and then likewise we've got the number 2 on the red going up against the number 1 on the blue. So it should be good fun to see exactly what sides of this map do swing. And I'm also excited to see how this map plays out. There's a very clear and definitive center line, right? Right down the middle of this map, you can see there's basically a perfect middle ground. You can imagine whoever contains more or less space over, beyond, or past that midline is going to have some sort of economic advantage. But it's always interesting to see just exactly how these teams want to approach this. Obviously, one sort of brute force strategy would just be to lean heavier on one side than another, so just put most of your force somewhere on the map and then neglect another one. Hope that that side can hold with less reinforcements and hope that the one with more can break through eventually. That's always one kind of, just a brute force strategy to it. But also another way might be some sort of, oh, a little bit of a pause there, sorry about that. Might be some sort of a wide tech diversity, right? Going into air, maybe going into hovercrafts for those early rockets and their no movement penalties, right? Because you can always move your hovercraft through the tar fields without any sort of movement penalties. You can see on the bottom left of the screen there, it says tanks 75 and bots 85. That's their total movement relative to their normal. So they move at 75% speed rather than 100% speed. But hovercraft, of course, ignore all that. So that's one interesting option specifically for this map. Would that advantage be worth it? I don't know. I feel like we don't get to see very much terrain traversal that matters so much as like a 25% movement speed reduction would. So I'd be curious to see certainly if that would be big enough to impact the matchup between hovercraft and tanks, for instance. Usually that matchup goes heavily in the favor of the tanks. Yeah, you can see these ticks moving quite slowly through the tar field, and then as soon as they step out, they're quite a bit faster all of a sudden. Nice little boost to the movement speed. Nazah here cries out the orange commander. It's a nice little bit of scouting. Making sure to call out to the team where the enemy's top dog is. Making sure that everybody's aware of the side that might end up needing a little more reinforcements. There's little changes that you can make to your gameplay to make this more efficient, right? You can always send the T2 down south first, right? You can start propagating T2 through your team from the southern side as opposed to starting it up north somewhere. You can always send reinforcements down there, send metal down to those players down on the southern side. Always good to keep that sort of thing in mind when you're going up against a really skilled opponent, like for instance Nazah is here. Love to see that we're thinking about those kinds of callouts. Saddam, the maroon commander, as well as he meme man, the Tan commander here, both stepping forward with the commanders in order to capture foreground here. Wouldn't mind seeing them maybe go for a constructor expand, just moving the commander forward and then expanding with the constructor. It looks like that is what we're going to do with the Tan commander here. We've got, constructor. Oh, we do actually have the constructor moving forward. Okay, wonderful stuff. So yeah, using the constructors to expand forward, using the commanders to lock down the mid lane. Obviously, you don't want to be fighting in this middle zone. You want to be fighting on your opponent's metal extractors, or at least within range to deny them. A little bit of an engagement over here as well. Blitzes and rovers jumping on top of a bunch of the grunts. Ooh, gotta be careful about those D guns right there. TNT Remmer trying desperately to cleave apart a big portion of those blitzes. Yeah, Blitz is actually finding a really nice engagement here. Well, until they ran into their own kind. Yeah, you know what? The pink blitzes definitely cleaned all that up quite nicely. And that aggression, did it really yield all too much of a advantage? A lot of metal down the drain right here, left on the other side of the map in the blitz wreckage. 65 metal a wreck, and there was about 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, gonna be a nice little boost of metal right there for the hot pink and the light pink commanders. certainly. Bunch of ticks running forward. We do have blitzes to try and deal with all that. Rusty Ginger gonna have to try and send some units in that direction. We desperately need some sort of a response. Ticks stop right here to try and go after the constructor. They will get it, but it means the blitz has a chance to fire on some of them. Self-destructs on the metal extractors wouldn't be the worst idea either, just to try and pop as many of these as possible. Always difficult to get the timing of that perfect, though. And those ticks do make it into the backline. Really nicely done here by Goff. This is a killer scout. Just gonna find where some more of these players are, figure out where their economy's at, figure out where their wind turbines are going. And that, of course, allows you to plot bombing runs and the like much more easily. The tick running around in the background. Such a tremendous APM deficit right here for the blue team to try and clean all this up with virtually no cost whatsoever for the red. The tick eventually gets shut down by the rovers over there, but definitely occupying quite a significant portion of Nizaz's APM. Well, I don't want to say that. Maybe not a significant portion, but occupying some portion of Nizaz's APM. That's one of the things I wish we had, was an APM tracker. Maybe just put their current APM over here on the left-hand side or something. I don't know. We've got plenty of numbers over here to showcase all the different statistics of the players that are currently fighting it out on the field. Like, for instance, that Nizaz is almost completely full on metal right now. Looks like we do plan to go for T2 now. Interesting. Seems like a really early T2 transition, but there is quite a lot of metal on this map. And yeah, I guess we're up to about 30 metal per second, which is enough to start thinking about T2. Feels a little bit early, but I guess if you have enough tanks on the front line, they can be quite sturdy. They can hold the line quite a bit easier. I like this position from Chief Panda here, who's locked down the majority of this front line, but we desperately need to see these metal extractors taken. Remember, if you're not contesting the metal extractors, or if you're not capturing the metal extractors, then there's essentially no point in you being up here as opposed to being right here, right? Gives you a little bit more advantage, sort of presses your advantage into the other team, but you're only denying this 2.4 metal extractor, which is the only one that the Orange Commander has taken. Important to keep those symmetries in mind right here, that it's really important to lock down those mexes whenever possible. Anyways, I'll clear the screen right there. Tesla trying to innovate their way to victory right here, I suppose. All electric Cortex bots. Somehow I doubt it. Somehow I feel like Cortex bots are run on hopes and dreams. 7511. Marching forward right now with a bunch of thugs and aggravators. Pretty brutal composition. We've got tons of res bots behind as well to pick it all up, of course. Keeping everything nice and healthy, and the commander's here as well to scare off any tank formations with a D-gun or two. Always worthwhile to include the commander in this sort of a push. Mini goal. Starting to look a little bit worse for wear here. $7511, looking for every opportunity to trade out right here. Of course, the res bots, again, allowing for really efficient trades, because any unit that goes down can either be folded back into the comp or just ground up and turned into scrap metal, repurposed into a new unit if that metal is too far gone, too far forward. Crazy wind turbine economic explosion in the background here. You can see we're just building wind turbines left, right, and center to try and make sure that we constantly have energy scaling. Always difficult to manage the balance between energy scaling and metal expansion. Anybody's going to pull it off quite nicely here, though. I feel like it'll be our red team hero. Thugs firing away at a lot of these rocket, pardon me, not rocket trucks, all of the medium tanks here. Well, I guess we do have a rocket truck, the twin medium rocket launcher, the Janus, firing away its infamous blast of high damage twin projectiles. Goes firing away once more. Big counter swarm coming in on the left hand side. We're building some pop-up Dragon's Maw right now to try and blast away into these units that get a little too close. Twin guards wouldn't be the worst idea either here. Just anything to try and shut down some of these units. Yeah, that Dragon's Maw put in some serious work. Its big AoE effect is really powerful. Commander explosion, meanwhile, I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. I was up on this northern side. Indeed, the lime green commander does actually end up falling down. This last-ditch effort to push forward with the pawns will be rewarded with a couple of mech kills, which is always nice, but the LLTs positioned around over here will be enough static defense to essentially deflect all of this damage. Yeah, a little bit more up on this northern side. I think we'll probably see 2 or 3 more metal extractors going down. Wind turbines in a little bit of trouble here as well. All that and more can be made up in the difference of eating up this commander right here, though, immediately skyrocketing the metal storage for the red commander who decided to go for a forward T2 lab. Yeah, wind turbine's in a lot of trouble. We could use the construction turrets to try and reclaim all these robots here, these pawns. Sorry, Armada units aren't robots. They're human robots. At least if the TA lore is to be believed. Missile truck slowly dismantling this front line for Chief Panda, who did eventually get these metal extractors up and running, by the way. With these 4 metal extractors, an extra 7.2 metal per second. That's essentially your entire early game economy per second. Aggravators firing away, trying to blast these medium tanks, but they're more than happy, the medium tanks that is, are more than happy to blast any Rocketeer that they can fire on to smithereens. Ideally, medium tanks should never have the opportunity to fire at your Rocketeers, your Aggravators. Such things happen in messy games like this, though. Metal Extractor is down, but I feel like they'll probably just be replaced by some T2 mexes. We do have a T2 Constructor here, and I imagine this will be marching its way backwards to upgrade all these mexes here eventually. We did actually do quite a significant number of damage. I mean, you can see a lot of these wind turbines did eventually fall. Minigol proclaims, K, I'm dead. Finishes up the T2 vehicle lab at the very least. So this is interesting because it means that we are on track as far as keeping up with the economy goes. The Green Commander not really as far behind as I think they imagine they are in their head. A couple of these metal extractors down, it definitely hurts. It's definitely not comfortable, but it's not the end of the world. And as long as those T2 vehicles do start to trade out efficiently here, I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot. Hound's pulled over to the northern side to try and deal with all this. Oh yeah, the Maroon Commander's gone for pork. Oh no. Saddam has gone for tons and tons of pork right here, which means that this lane can be essentially ignored. Oh no, we're just running pawns into a beamer turret right now. Luckily the beamer turret isn't powered, so maybe these pawns will be able to get some value. What a waste. What an egregious waste of materials here. Constantly losing our T1 units. I heard bombers. Oh, I heard bombers. Where were they? Maybe I didn't. Has Brightworks gone full schizo? It's possible. Medium tanks. Finding an opening. Or more like making an opening. They can find an opening wherever they pretty much please. Lightning tanks down here, ravaging the forward production facilities. This is the problem with those forward production facilities, right? You build it on the front line and your units get out so much quicker, but you end up risking it all if that lab goes down, and now you have no production in the back line here. Forced to go into some sort of bot lab or more build power or economy. Some sort of response is going to be necessary in order to clean all this up. Eventually, a lot of this is dealt with. Medium tanks also being blasted apart by lightning turrets here. Dragon's Claws, the pop-up lightning turrets. Pretty good against the medium tanks. Probably the only static defense that's really worthwhile for building against the medium tanks. Hounds have saved the day over here on the northern side, pushing back the Red Army and denying this metal extractor too, which is actually really nice. Shutting down that mechs does mean that, yeah, the red advantage is actually only 1 metal extractor right now. Over the, well, I guess it's 2, because we have 1 metal extractor. We've denied 1 metal extractor from the green commander. If we can upgrade our T2 mexes and keep them upgrading consistently, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot right here for our hero in green. Definitely going to be a tricky game to hold, though. Fiends on the front line for Chief Panda. We are rezzing the T2 lab here, so eventually that aggression was dealt with, and we are going to put it all back up and online, rather than reinvesting in the backline here. We do have a T2 constructor eventually set to upgrade all this. Where is that guy at? Ah, there he is. Yeah, if this T2 con gets the opportunity to improve all of these metal extractors, that could be the saving grace right here for Chief Panda to try and stay in this game. But if we don't see some sort of response, some sort of immediate action to close the gap between these two commanders right here that the blue lightning tanks are continuing to push through, more and more damage will be done. More and more trades will eventually fall in the favor of the blue team. And that's an easy way to spiral a game completely out of control. Zydeco looking to push forward right here, directly into the artillery fire. I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me, cries out Zydeco as he plunges himself into the shell shocker fire right there. Bizarrely. Potentially a miscue. We'll pretend like it was an intentional show of faith. Shell shockers firing away wherever they can. Wolverines versus shell shockers firing away. Or trying to, anyways. These lightning tanks really have made it quite far. Yeah, you know what? Shutting down quite a lot of production over here. The scars of wind turbines chain reacted have littered the battlefield over on the back line. The economic zones of the Orange Commander over here. Definitely uncomfortable. TNT Remmer has stolen the lab right here of the Orange Commander, inadvertently, of course, just trying to resurrect it, but accidentally took control over the lab. Means it needs to be handed over once more. Until then, production essentially is stopped for Chief Panda, trying to get the Pink Commander's attention. Oh no. We're not paying attention. There we go. Finally, the lab is handed over. Quite a while of no production right there. Is a bit unfortunate. Nizaz's commander does go down, though. Hound's blasting that commander to smithereens. There's also some bulls out. Very expensive tanks. You don't want to lose those for free. Hound's trying to make a real efficient trade about it, though. We're threatening with the medium tanks, but that threat is losing its potency as we start to move into a T2 transition here. Welders, Fiends, Hounds, even Sheldon to a degree, going to be more than capable of dealing with these medium tanks in more and more efficient manners. Meaning that they're essentially just scrap metal. Yeah, every one of these we bring down right here is just tons of metal that's going back into the bank of the red team. Suddenly the overinvestment in the medium tanks, I think, is becoming the downfall. Northern side not looking great either. We still have some T1 units mixed into the bag here. At the very least, we have Resbots to eat up or reclaim a whole bunch of this as much as possible anyways. Spybot lands a nice paralysis right here on about half of the army. Most of the T2, though, is in that big cluster. Spybot detected. Spybot slips on through. Grunts in the backline, though. Grunts in the backline. Sounds like a good grunge album. But in this case, it's the death of the green player here, as tons and tons of energy production is falling. The build power pops as well. Hound's trying to clean all this up, but there's only so much they can do. Glad to see that they're in their Gauss projectile mode. It's their faster firing, slightly more accurate mode. Excellent for dealing with assault units. Wind turbines, chain react. Devastating the energy economy right here of the green player. The dark green player. Suddenly, this has become a race against the clock. Pitbull turret is up and oh no, pardon me, that's just a Hound firing away. We're starting a Pitbull turret, but it's not quite up yet. It'll be up in about a minute, maybe, depending on E-stall, which is quite dangerous right now. Geothermal coming up right here as well, the advanced geothermal. Always makes me a little bit scared to see production built around advanced geothermal. Zyga apparently unhappy with the travel distance of putting that lab either a little bit further back here or maybe off to the side, so yeah, a little bit dangerous. Definitely has me worried here. Killer bombing rod could certainly pop this and send damaging ripples through the waves of production that we have set up right now. Chief Panda is still being Juno missiled to make sure that no ticks or radars or radar jammers are available, and the bulls are looking to get aggressive. The NOAA commander's lurking around over here. They want the kill. Panda in a lot of trouble. Boom goes the Orange Commander to a couple of bulls firing away at it. Yeah, once those T2 tanks hit the battlefield, you really have to be careful with that commander. It'll fall in a split second if you're not paying super close attention to it. Loads of reclaim available right here is what my eye immediately goes to. We do have the Resbots working on it. Another commander goes down on the northern side. That's the Cyan commander falling here. Mine layers apparently have mined out the entire tar field up on this northern side. Bit of an interesting decision, because I feel like if you're going to move your units, you're going to avoid the tar field. Although maybe it's like a mind game in a mind game, because I know you're going to avoid the minefield, or you're going to avoid the tar field. So I don't know. I'm going to put mines down in the place where you expect me to put the mines down, because you expect me to put the mines down, so I'll put them in a place where you don't expect me to expect you to put the mines down. I don't know. Maybe there's some braining going on, some big brain shenanigans happening here. Maybe it was just where we started laying the mines, and we're going to continue going all the way up here. Either way, Juno missiles are quite nice. Yeah, I'm glad to see those Juno missiles included here to try and shut down some of those radars and radar jammers. Definitely opening up a lot of opportunities here. T1 army has fallen rapidly to the Mausers. This looked completely in the hands of the Lavender commander, and it immediately flipped sides as soon as the Mauser were here to ravage all those T1 units. Killer D-guns over here on this side, by the way. Zar firing away as well, helping out immensely. Frendon's up, holding the line right now, but not for long. As long as these Mauser are continuing to march forward, this is going to be a dangerous situation. And Shio is spotted. The bull firing away here. Just over 3,000 HP, one of those advanced geothermals has. Oh, where was that other one? It was rather healthy. Yeah, 3,600 HP is nothing in the face of beyond all reason units. That's a couple of volleys from some T2 units, and they go up in smoke. Termites on the front line is an interesting decision. Not a lot of terrain to deal with to spider crawl over. I suppose you could on the southern side here. In fact, I wouldn't mind seeing that those termites being built and sent on the southern sides, or maybe the northern side, just to take advantage of those hills up on that side. A significant investment, though, in units that are expensive for an ability that you barely get to take advantage of, if that makes any sense. You pay a premium for their wall climbedness. You don't get to take very much advantage of it in this particular game. Mass Banisher, though, my goodness. Banishing indeed the forces right here for the Tan Commander. Banishers feel very similar to Starlights in the way that they work, just a single big burst of high damage. Although Starlights can fire quite a bit quicker. The recharge isn't nearly as long. Geothermal is spotted. Little fortification zone over here set up. We have the LLTs and some rattlesnakes set up, a pit bull as well. All that good stuff. Commander falls over here on the left-hand side of the screen. That's the Tan Commander, dying defending his base. The Tick Swarm marching forward right now as we see we're starting to transition into that very spammy mid-game. Should start to see some killer economies coming up as well. Some of the big late game ones. Yeah, there we go. Aphis up and running right here for the Pink Commander, who's just taking this advantage and run away with it. We're going for a tick spam on the front lines. Wouldn't mind seeing a Resbot or two produced since we already have the T1 labs out. We do have a console reclaiming a whole bunch, which is always great. 4,000 metal of reclaim right here. I mean, you can imagine putting all that into your Aphis would definitely be quite nice. Finishing up that very important energy production super quickly. Razorback on the front, blasting apart the metal extractors, trying to find some value here.
Battle
the poor Dark
paused.
Green Commander has been holding
Battle
on
started.
by a thread, trying to keep the base alive here. We're going for the advanced metal extractors, so at the very least we've got a decent enough economy up here. The energy production could be better, but it's definitely not terrible. Around 500 is good for starting T2. You really need about 1,500 to really start mass producing T2 units. T3 lab is up and running on triple fusion right now for the Lime Green Commander. We do have Razorbacks coming out right here. We have the the third fusion reactor coming up as well. Anti-spybot device has been built. I suppose those spybot connections kind of incited a response. Maybe we're thinking about our own units being spybotted and built the anti-spybot detection tower. It's actually just an anti-cloaking tower in general. And it does work outside of Fog of War too. It's actually just a different type of detector. Seismic detector. It's quite interesting. I wonder if it works on hovercraft. My gut instinct is that it should not. Right? Hovercraft don't touch the ground. They float. They flow at. Ironically, yeah, Orange Commander says he's going T3 probably. Right as the Marauders start to stream out onto the battlefield. Ironic timing in that, certainly. Marauders showing themselves for the first time here. Going to trade really efficiently against the Fiends, if that's where we're going to engage with them. Starlights are going to be difficult to push together. Yeah, we're going to need, as the co-commentators have said here, if they push together, it's GG. I absolutely agree. These Starlights could easily decimate this entire base right here. Looks like it's going to be on the blue leader, though. Nazas sending in the forces right now to try and do some damage. This is your cue, guys. Time to move forward. Powder Blue needs more energy production. Yeah, we got fusion reactors coming up. That's good to see. We need about 3 more fusion reactors in order to fund all of these Starlights firing. Starlights are 1,000 energy a shot, I do believe. Maybe more, might be slightly less, but definitely costs quite a bit. Similar to sharpshooters in that way. Marauder have made it past the front line. Definitely an issue here for the Orange Commander. The spam labs have been targeted down. Interesting decision. I'm surprised we didn't dive a little bit harder here. And Marauder gonna pull back from the back line. Interesting. Might be a little bit of a micro moment because we've got this other group of Marauder that we were worrying about. Either way, though, snagging the kill on TNT Remmer is definitely nice. Shutting down that commander means there's no longer any way that that commander is going to be able to degun anything. And suddenly, the T3 units have made a complete turnaround. This entire northern side has crumbled. The T3 Razorback transition has blasted apart the Maroon commander's base right here. Saddam trying to hold the line, but look how well that T1 static defense held up. The answer is zip, zilch, nada, zero. Just like that, those T3 are now well into the backline here. Saddam ignoring the D-gun potential, going after the heavy tanks potentially. Okay. The alternative, simply ignore the units. Hope and pray. Just like that, the green commander has broken the lines. The red leader has tapped out of the game. Razorbacks now ravaging all of the new yellow base up on the northern side here. There's quite a lot of T3 production as well. I mean, we've got a full-blown T3 lab. We've got a anti-cloak device as well, the Nemesis, the intrusion countermeasure system. A lot of opportunities right here, but we need to take advantage of it all. Green commander transitioning into air at this point, well guarded by Towns, who just decides to make the best of it and go ahead and transition. We've got a lot of commandos here. Interesting. I wonder why we went for such a heavy investment on the commandos. Seems a bit odd to me. I've heard the argument that they're good because they can cloak. Pardon me, not because they can cloak, because they can radar jam, and they cannot be turned off by a Juno. Which I suppose is fair. I almost wonder if they should be, though. Yeah, maybe they should be EMP'd by Juno missiles. That's kind of a funny way to counter commandos. Disable their their jamming circuitry. Advanced geothermal pops right there for the hot pink commander. Starlight's continuing to blast apart this front line. It's hard to say the Starlights aren't one of the coolest units in the game. They're extremely long reach, making them an ideal siege unit. Interesting in the way that they're a siege unit with single target specificity. Which is interesting. But just like that, I missed it while focused on the Starlights, but just like that, with the overwhelming advantage on the northern side, the eventual collapse. In the end, it'll be the blue team who takes victory in today's match of Beyond All Reason. What a cool back and forth. I love this map, and I can't wait to see more of it. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comment section, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.